Sabrina Carpenter is absolutely everywhere right now. I mean, from headlining Coachella to just completely dominating the music charts, her rise to the top of the pop world has been, well, it's been spectacular. But you know how it is, with that kind of rapid success comes a ton of scrutiny. And there's this one question that keeps bubbling up online. How in the world did this all happen so fast? So in this explainer, we're going to break down a really fascinating and pretty controversial theory about her incredible ascent. Let's get into it.
So what are we looking at here? Is this a classic story of pure talent, years of hard work, and, as she herself says, manifestation? Or is there something else going on? Is there a powerful, maybe hidden connection that helped pave her way to the top? Let's take a look at what the theory presents.
All right, first, let's just set the stage, because her success is genuinely huge. We're talking about someone who got her start on Disney's Girl Meets World and has just exploded into a global pop icon. Her music, topping the charts. Her shows, headlining massive festivals. By any metric you can think of, she is at the absolute top of her game. So how does she explain this incredible journey?
Well, this quote right here gives us Sabrina's own perspective on it all. When she's asked about her success, she credits her powerful belief in herself, her ability to basically manifest her own destiny. And that's a really powerful narrative, right? It's all about self-made success, just powered by this unwavering confidence. But the theory we're digging into today suggests there might be another, much less visible, piece to her story.
And that brings us to the first major piece of this puzzle, a connection to her very famous aunt, who was a really significant presence, especially in her early life.
Yep, you heard that right. Her aunt is Nancy Cartwright, an absolute legend in the voice acting world. You have definitely heard her voice, most famously as Bart Simpson, of course, but her resume is just packed with iconic shows like Rugrats and Kim Possible. So we're not talking about some distant industry contact here. This is family with some serious Hollywood clout.
And Sabrina herself has talked about her aunt really warmly. She said that growing up, her aunt's fame was just the coolest thing in the world. Apparently, Nancy was super supportive. She even let Sabrina and her family stay with her in Hollywood during pilot season to help her get her career started. Sabrina called it a little boost.
But here's where things get a little strange. Despite this seemingly close, supportive relationship, it's been pointed out that public photos of the two of them together seem to just stop right around 2011. The theory speculates that this public distance might have been intentional. And that leads us to the real core of all these claims.
Okay, so this is where the theory really starts to take shape. This section is all about unpacking the central argument, which focuses completely on Nancy Cartwright's deep, very public, and very controversial involvement with a certain church.
The first piece of evidence that's presented is financial, and it's a huge number. It's alleged that Nancy Cartwright has donated at least $21 million to this organization, which puts her at one of its highest levels of benefactor status. So the point being made here is crucial. This isn't some casual affiliation. This is a massive multi-million-dollar commitment.
And it goes beyond just money. The claim is that she's a high-ranking and extremely active member. She's described as someone who is deeply embedded in the organization's hierarchy, so much so that she allegedly reminds other celebrity members to donate more and get more involved.
And this next part, wow, it really highlights how far that involvement allegedly goes. It all points back to a widely reported incident from 2009 involving a robocall. In the recording, Nancy Cartwright allegedly used her famous Bart Simpson voice to get people's attention before she launched into a recruitment pitch for a church event.
As you can imagine, the backlash was immediate and very public. The executive producer of The Simpsons, Al Jean, had to release a statement making it crystal clear that the show had absolutely nothing to do with it and that they don't endorse any religion. It was a really significant moment where her professional life and her church activities collided in a very public, very controversial way.
Okay, so the argument takes this another step further. It suggests that this connection to the church isn't just limited to her famous aunt. It allegedly extends to Sabrina's immediate family too. And if that's true, well, that would add a whole new layer to this story.
So why does that matter? Well, what's presented here is a key rule of the organization. High-ranking members are allegedly required to disconnect from, which means completely cut off, any family members who are not part of the church or anyone who's critical of it. So the logic here is that for Nancy to have stayed so close and so helpful to Sabrina's family, they must have been involved in some way. Otherwise, she would have had to cut ties.
And right here is what's presented as the receipts, the direct evidence. It points to a website that archives the church's own publications, showing records of who completed which courses. And according to this data, Sabrina's sister, Shannon, has completed several introductory courses. And, maybe even more surprisingly, it shows that her father, David, completed courses way back in 1999.
And all of this, of course, brings the entire investigation right back to Sabrina herself. I mean, with all of these alleged connections swirling around her aunt, her father, and her sister, the ultimate question has to be asked: where does she fit into all of this? What is her involvement?
This slide really highlights the central contradiction in this entire story. On one side, you've got Sabrina's alleged online comment to a fan, a really clear casual denial. No babes, debunked. Simple enough. But on the other side, you've got this alleged hard and fast rule from the organization that says non-members are labeled suppressive persons, basically enemies, and dedicated members, like her aunt, are strictly forbidden from associating with them.
And that is the central puzzle being presented here. Given the church's super strict rules, how could Nancy Cartwright have given her that little boost and stayed in their lives if Sabrina and her family weren't, at the very least, okay with it or involved themselves? How can a high-ranking member maintain a relationship with a so-called suppressive person? It's a huge question.
And the theory wraps up with one final and pretty forward-looking allegation. The claim is that because of her massive popularity with a young audience, there's now immense pressure on Sabrina to become the new public face of the church. They see her as the key to recruiting the next generation of members.
So that leaves us with the final question. At the end of the day, what are we looking at here? Is Sabrina Carpenter simply a gifted, hard-working artist who got a helpful little boost from a famous relative? Or, as this whole theory alleges, is there a much deeper story here? The story of a star whose path was meticulously paved by a powerful and controversial organization, all operating behind the scenes. The evidence has been laid out for you. The conclusion, well, that's yours to consider.